Hello, everybody in Facebook world and everywhere else on the planet. Thank you so much for joining us. You have reached the Insiders with Liz and Amber. And today we are very excited. We have a very special guest with us. Her name is Marianne Kennedy. And this is a gal who is an internationally acclaimed award-winning top medium in Canada. She is a published author, a spiritual educator, a soul-based coach, and TV personality starring in Ghosts of Dufferin County and beyond. Without further ado, welcome, Miss Marianne Kennedy. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with you two amazing people.
I'm so excited for today's talk because, we love Marianne. We love you. So, anything that we can do collectively is always exciting to me. And today is super special because you're here and because we're going to be talking about spiritual awakening and, more into that, all of those frequently asked questions that folks ask us about, how do I know if I'm awakened and what does a spiritual awakening even mean? And all of those great questions. So, but first and foremost, tell us about your show, Ghosts of Dufferin County. How are you doing this year with the filming and COVID? And has anything changed? Who are you interviewing? Tell us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we got really lucky because we did a lot of filming. I think we filmed 7 or 8 episodes in January of 2020, right before COVID. So that sort of took care of season 2, which was fantastic. And then we would normally do a little bit of filming in the summer, but because of COVID didn't. And so we've just been taping a few episodes here and there. Normally, and you guys have both been on the show, thankfully. And, we'd normally tape in studio, but because of, COVID, just like now, we're doing it over Zoom. So we've done a few interviews and I've got a few more, actually, we've got a lot of filming coming up and I know you guys do too. We've got, I've got Karen Shepley coming on the show. She's an animal communicator and she's really sort of up and coming, doing a lot of really good work. I've got Sean Leonard coming on the show and I know you guys just recently interviewed him as well. So yes. I'm so excited to meet him. I've heard such great things about him from both of you. And so I'm excited to have him.
Amazing. He is right, Liz? He is one of those people that you just you're going to love him.
Yeah.
You're going to love him.
Yeah, I love it. I love grounded, down to earth. This is how it's been described to me. So this is great. I've got Michael Philpott coming on, the metaphysical mentor. He's a really super guy. I met him a couple of years ago filming another show. And I just recently was on his podcast. I think it was this week or last week. I'm excited to work with him. He's a super professional. He's done a lot of work in television and media. And as soon as you work with him, you know that because the way that he speaks on camera is just it's incredible. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing talking to him. I'm most excited that we're getting to film our first on location for season 3 and we're filming it next Friday. So we are going to be at, so far, a secret location in Elora, Ontario. And we're bringing in a new element to the show, which is always going to be fun. So I actually, I have a paranormal investigation team that's coming to complement the psychic investigation. They're going to have, all their gadgets and all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be fun. We're going to film that next Friday. And all of the new episodes are going to start airing in January. So definitely looking forward to that stuff. And actually, I was just talking about you, Liz, during my, it was actually my interview with Michael Philpott on the Metaphysical Mentor. He had asked some questions about psychic kids. And I said, well, I can answer some of these questions for you, but
Thank you.
You might want to check out this episode with Liz Throp on Ghosts of Dufferin County. She's, the psychic kids expert. So I love how the community is really,
I know.
I just find it's expanding and everybody's becoming more and more interconnected. And I've also found that I actually, one of the questions I was asked in this most recent podcast was, how do you know, how do you discern between groups of people, whether someone's part of your tribe or not your tribe, or you feel connected or not connected, or this is the community for me, or this isn't the community for me, because the question was focused around this point of, the interviewer saying, I had, felt like I fit in with certain groups and then they just kind of fell away and it just didn't feel right anymore. Yeah. And you know what I said? I said that, listen, our consciousness is changing and evolving, especially if you're intentionally working on it, if you're choosing and, willing yourself into you know, soul making. And so, you know, don't be too hard on yourself if you felt like you fit in somewhere, or this was your tribe, and this fit on this day. And then, you know, why did we vibrate out of each other's fields? Why does that happen? We can't be hard on ourselves or other people about it. You know, as we continue to change and evolve, and other people do too, that is what happens. We vibrate out of each other's consciousness. We become, there's too much of a disparity between levels of consciousness that we can't maintain meaningful relationship. So what I love is that in the last, you know, COVID, you figure out, you know, you connect with people in different ways, and you find new tribe mates, and then you also find folks that you match for a period, and then it's not a match anymore. And let's just be okay with that. Let's be okay with the changing landscape.
I love that you said that.
Yeah,
because that's been my whole life.
but it's everybody's life, right? And it's like we get caught up on saying, oh, what a shame, oh, we should stay connected, oh, we should this, and we should this, and we should this. And you know, shitting ourselves is like shitting on ourselves, or we don't need to do that. Like, and we don't need to blame anybody. We don't need to blame ourselves. If we can just surrender to this reality that we're constantly evolving and changing, and who we match with, like the clothing that we like, the colors that we like, those things all evolve. We don't get mad at ourselves or say, oh, you didn't discern appropriately. We just accept that as it happens. And I think we have to do the same with relationships.
I don't know that it's all like, you know, pointing fingers at others. I think there's a guilt association, right?
Sometimes there's that too. Sometimes there's that too.
Right? Like you feel like you should be more present for your friends, or you should be more present for your family, or, you know, like you're so torn in not wanting to, right? So yeah, it's a big deal. And that's a huge part of the spiritual awakening, for sure.
You know, it's funny. I was having this exact conversation with a client the other day, and I was getting spiritually guided. You know, this is the normal evolution of it all. You go up and you change in your vibration, and you bring and attract, and then you go away, just as you guys are saying. But when we were talking specifically about how it was, you know, around relationships, like romantic relationships and partnerships, it's interesting because I keep feeling like the real connection, where you kind of can stay even keel, learn all the lessons, ends up being between like 26 and 35, where you're at this kind of spiritual level or ascension, awakening, whatever. You're kind of into yourself. You've learned all those kind of ego-based things that affect relationships, where you think you might have, or you're in the process of, but in that age range, you're more than likely to kind of get to that partner that keeps you connected, and you guys now challenge each other to grow, versus, you know, maybe if we're talking about childhood loves or, you know, high school sweethearts, it's very challenging and sometimes impossible to stay the same way, challenge each other and grow and continue forever, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I've talked about this a lot in, you know, private classes with clients, all those things. And, you know, I got married when I was 21, and my husband and I have been together for 20 plus years. And so,
wow.
And you know what, and for anyone who knows me, or if you know me personally, if we've worked together, or if you know, if we're family or whatever that is, you know that, you know, I am, you know, I don't like saying a spiritual person. You're just integrated. It's just part of who you are. It's part of your life. But my husband is not that way, right? Like, he's actually very, very psychic. He's very in tune, but he also can be totally like oblivious and not thinking about things like energy and vibration. Like, he doesn't think about things like that, which is totally fine. But what that whole experience over the last 20 years has been able to sort of show me is that, and this is true whether it's a romantic relationship or not a romantic relationship, but especially in a romantic relationship, is that in terms of consciousness, you don't have to be an exact match. You don't have to be on this even footing together. We don't have to. We can have some disparity. We can have some differences in consciousness, but the gap between us can't be incredibly large. And when it is incredibly large, that's when we can't sustain that meaningful relationship. But we don't have to be, you know, we don't have to vibrate. We don't have to carry the same lens or hold the same consciousness as our partner. We don't. And so, guys, if you're thinking, oh man, you know, I'm thinking about following some of these, you know, intuitive callings, but I feel like, you know, my partner or my closest friends or my family, you know, they're not on that same page. They don't have to be. They don't have to be. And I think that as we continue to evolve intentionally as soul journeyers, and those around us that aren't necessarily conscious soul journeyers, if they are just evolving at their own pace and we are at ours, if we continue to stay in some reachable space, then we're able to maintain meaningful relationship with them. And you know what? And Amber, you know, you do a lot of work in clarity and relationships. So you know that we don't have to share like mutually and together all aspects of our life with our partner. I mean, we all have facets, and they're a part of these, and not so much a part of these. They exist in the background as a support system, just like we do for them. But you know, my husband doesn't need to become a medium for us to have a good relationship, right?
It's so true. And you know, I think that it creates a much better, that balance and that challenge and the growth. I think that, you know, if you're too alike, there's not much opportunity for challenging your growth. And, you know, there's no right way, wrong way, but like at the same time, it's true. You don't need to be completely matched. You just have to be at least in the same, you know, you're wanting to go to the same space. And, you know, this is also true in terms of clarity. It's like, if you're both willing to try, you know, whether it's a friendship, romantic partnership, whatever, as long as you're trying and you're heading in that raises the vibration. So you're both intentionally trying to get to the same spot, even if it takes some, you know, communication to get that clarity or insight.
Yeah, no, but you're absolutely right, because I think of all the times over the years that my husband Ryan's, you know, tried something out. Because I'm like, Ryan, you probably like this. Just give it a crack. He'll do it. You know, he's done past life regression. He's had energy healing done, reconnective healing, mediumship readings. I'll have students who are about to graduate from an online program. I like to often have them read for me personally before they finish with their certificate, or someone very, very close to me, so I can audit it very well. And he's my guinea pig all the time. You know, he's come to sit for students. He'll try anything. He's very connected to ancestry and history, and he understands energy that way. You know, he's he has a deep affinity toward it. Just not so much in the everyday life, but so his willingness to experience my landscape means a lot, and it has over the years, right? And it's just, all that really is it's just listening in, right? It's being available for your partner in some way, right? You know,
That's
like,
so true.
And I think that it takes time and it takes maturity to get to that space. You know, even something as small as, you know, not feeling like hearing about another story that happened on a, you know, job site or a shop today, but for your love of this person, becoming available and present for them, right? And so we do that for each other, but the way we do it is different, which is totally fine.
So true. I'll remember, you know, when I first started dating my husband, I asked him to come with me on a what do you call the maze thing? What do you call that? We were just talking about those, Amber. The circle where you walk around the circle.
Oh, spiral?
Yeah, but what's it called, guys?
Labyrinth?
Thank you. Oh God. So I'm like, hun, you got to try this. Like, it's really, you'll get something out of it. And you know, and if you don't, you just come and enjoy. So, but it was so cute because he had no clue what was going on. He didn't want to be there. You could tell. And it was just like, he was like, at the end, he's like, was I supposed to get something from this? I don't know what I'm supposed to get, but it was okay, I guess, you know. But it's like that exactly what you're saying is, there, as long as you're trying, and they don't have to try everything you suggest either. But yeah, I think I like the balance of him not being fully into, because he brings me back to reality a lot.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, grounding. They're very grounding. Yeah.
Yeah, my husband is the exact same way. I think that's what the three of us share in common. And it's so interesting because it's like, we are so deep in this, like we are in wanting to be enlightened and ascending, and we're teaching and we're helping and we're in that world. And then you get that groundedness when you're like, oh yeah, you're bringing me right back down. But yeah, my husband also, he's very, very enlightened and is very understanding and compassionate and empathic about people. And then there's those moments where you're like, okay, that might have been an ego-based choice, decision, or comment. And then there's me that's bringing him back up and saying, okay, let's raise that back up a little bit, because you don't need to be quite in that space right now, right?
Yeah, and I think that we're all teachers to each other that way in these relationships, right?
Yeah. You know what? One of the other questions that we get when we're talking about spiritual awakening, since we're on the topic of love, is how do you know that you are with the right partner? Like, is when we talk about soulmates and twin flames and just even, is this the right person for the right time? So what are you guys thinking on that topic?
That's a good question. I would say for me personally, my awareness was this level of respect that I had with him and that he had with me. Because I've been in relationships before where that never was present. It was in the beginning, but then that dissipated. So there's a level of respect that I just know he's got my back. And it may not be to the level that I need him to be sometimes, right? I mean, we can all ask for more than what we can get sometimes, but for the most part, I know he's always present and I know he's always got my back. So it's very comforting to know that. And I knew that immediately about him. There was energetically, I just knew that he was that guy.
Yeah. I mean, my answer is going to sound a bit different because, we were kids, right? Like we were teenagers and we were kids when we got married too. So that means that we didn't really know who we were.
Right.
Right. And so I think when you're an adult, you can ask these more discerning questions like, is this the appropriate person for me? But I think as like a 17-year-old, right, I don't think we think of things that way. And I think that that's okay. And I think sometimes you don't know. And sometimes you're like, that's the way life goes. I mean, we're always in these phases and stages. And there have been lots of times over the years, especially in the early years, where you have yet to figure out who you are, or probably more accurately have become a more mature version of yourself, right? And so when you do that together at the same time, there can be a lot of conflict there, right? Because our identities are sort of escape us still. You know what I mean? We are who we think we are, this type of thing. So I think it's hard to know. And I think that I think that's probably why when people have been together since kids, a lot of the times it doesn't go very well. But I think that if you're able to stick it out, I think you come into lots of really beautiful grace periods. And all relationships have sort of those phases and stages. But yeah, I would say the same kind of thing though, Liz. Like looking back, I don't think I ever asked those questions in quite the same way that I might ask as an adult in a relationship, coming into a new relationship. But I also think it's very nondescript, like how can I describe that this feels right for me? I don't know that I could describe that, right? It's like, how do you define or describe love? I don't really know that we can throw a net around it, but I can give maybe some qualities or examples that might give us a reference for what we're talking about. So I think it's a gut thing, and a heart thing, but I also think that the ego bodies, the ones that are concerned with preservation and fitting in and belongingness and all those things, I think that they can distort feelings a lot, which is often why even when a relationship has, the contract, the soul contract that's there has served its purpose, has expired, has been completed. Sometimes people still stick with it, right? We stick in a toxic sort of relationship after the expiry date. And that's often because, we might be afraid of what comes after that, right? But the distortion happens when we sort of buy into the possibility that no, this is love, and because it's love, then it's okay that it's toxic and not great, but I love this person, so that's enough. And I think that, what I don't know what I'd put on the line to say that if you're an adult and you've been in a relationship, any meaningful relationship for a long time, we have all discovered at some point that love alone is not enough. Whether you're in that relationship or not, it's not enough. It's necessary, but we need more than just I love yous, right? We need more than just I love yous. So maybe that's a long sort of idea, but I guess it's just to say that even if we can't list how we know that this is right, I think that the feelings are important. I think that the intuitive connection is important to know what feels right and appropriate for us. And then if we're really unclear, sometimes we need help getting clarity so that we don't distort truth and reality for ourselves to serve the ego that is looking for safety and security.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is so relevant because I think there's so much pressure. We talk again about the pressure that is placed either upon us or we have placed upon our own self to live in what we believe should be the way that it is. So if you are in belief that, yes, I'm going to stay in a toxic relationship because love is love, marriage is marriage, whatever it is, it's your belief system, that's fine. But if you're not being fulfilled, if you're being, more harm than good, and you're not getting as many respites with the fun, because you still need the fun and the love and the joy, you need to get that. It's the balance of the universe. But then the clarity is, am I excited? Like, this is how I think about it. I'm like, am I excited by doing something? Like, say if, out of 24 hours in my day, I'm sleeping for 8. So let's go down to 12 hours. If in 12 hours, I'm dreading seeing this person, then I'm thinking, okay, for 12 hours, I have just done everything in my energy, has avoided, pushed, or come away from this individual or topic experience. But if I'm excited or thinking, okay, even though that was challenging yesterday, I'm still looking forward to the thing we had planned tonight. So kind of read into your emotions or your intuition, like you guys are saying, because it will guide you, because you can still be sad, angry, hurt, and still love and still look forward to and be excited by. So if you're still experiencing that, then that is more or less what I'm kind of gauging my clarity with. Is this love? Is this a good relationship? Is this a good experience for me? And I do that with whatever, like it could be applied to a job or a friendship or anything. So that's right. That's how I do it. Am I getting joy and excitement, or is it just constant dread?
Yeah. And I guess the only other thing to add to that would be that sometimes in relationships, you're in a phase of, you've got a couple of weeks or maybe even a month or two where, something's working itself out in the wash. So I'm not excited to see this person at this time, but I know that I know that it's a temporary situation because we are working at resolving something, or something new is coming, So just because at this exact moment you feel like I'm not excited to see this person, that doesn't mean it's a long-term sustained thing. And you'll know that on your own, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And bringing it back around to the whole level of respect, right? So you can have those moments of, negativity or negative feelings towards somebody, but you always have that level of respect. And if you tend to lose, I think another major aspect of knowing that someone's your soulmate is they allow you to be you. Mm-hmm. They encourage you to be you. So they're not demanding or controlling, but they encourage you to be you, live your. And that was where, in this relationship that I'm in now, this marriage I'm in, that was so different from any relationship I'd ever been in. It was never me.
And that's loving with freedom.
Right?
Right? It's loving with freedom. You're loving freely. You're allowing the other to be free as well. And I always say, like your soul, if you have a soulmate in this particular life, that may or may not be your romantic partner. Right? That can be anybody to you. That can be anybody to you. But I think that sacred honoring of freedom, no matter what the relationship is, whether it's romantic, whether it's your child, whether it's a friend, I think that honoring of freedom is really, really important. And I think that it is also a very evolved state to occupy, to allow for freedom. And even if you generally operate that way, every once in a while, I mean, we have form bodies, we have personality, ego bodies, you'll be tried by yourself, right, to maintain that. But loving in a way that honors freedom is highly important. And that's actually a good gauge to say, where am I operating at in this world? What is my consciousness around this? Do I feel like I need to dictate one's evolution, what it needs to look like, et cetera, or can I love in a way that honors freedom? So I think that's a good gauge to ask yourself in any relationship, really. And then conversely, if we're evaluating relationships around us, can I ask this question, right? Does this person love me? And even if it's, again, it could be a friend, a family member. Does this person love me in a way that honors my freedom and who I am? Or do I feel confined or constrained by that? Do I feel like there's expectations on me? And then if I do I feel like I'm out of right relationship with this person? And then if the answer is yes, then I say, can I get into right relationship with them? Or do I realize that our consciousness is a big mismatch at this time and it's really like a futile effort? All these things to, ask the self.
Yeah, these are great questions, because ultimately, as a human, We want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to be felt. And when a relationship of any type offers that, and this is, you know, with career and the clarity and the insight of, am I in the right career? That's all we want as an employee or a partner or whatever is, are you hearing me? Do you see me? Am I able to bring value to you and you accept it, appreciate it, and own it? And if not, then I'm feeling displaced, misaligned and not feeling fulfilled. And when you feel seen, heard, and felt, then you're feeling fulfilled and successful. And then that gives you that extra fuel in your gas tank to keep going through those, more challenging times. But I have to ask you guys this, because this is the big one. So in terms of spiritual awakening, how would you guys describe knowing what a spiritual awakening is, and how would you tell one that they're in one? Because this is what I keep getting asked. How do I know I'm having a spiritual awakening? Am I awakened yet? When will I know?
I think it's I guess I'll start, Liz. A couple of things, I suppose. I think that there's no linear way to answer that. I think we all experience expanding consciousness in a different way. And I think that when it first sort of comes into our awareness, I think it presents different ways. And I also feel like it's important that we say, there's no state to arrive at, right? That is not what a human incarnation is about. We are souls animating the physical body, but our ego bodies, our personality bodies, they're how we engage with the world of form around us. So we're not to rid ourselves of ego, but we're to bring it into alignment with the nature of soul, which is our truest nature. And that is what the soul journey is really about. And it is a lifelong, indeed lifelong process, many lives. And so there's no state to arrive at, but when the universe starts communicating to you, when your soul is at the point in its journey in this life where it says, okay, time for shift, time for expansion, I think a number of indicators start happening. I think that we begin asking big questions internally and of other people that we didn't find ourselves asking before. I think that if I could even demonstrate it physically, operating only from personality, we're looking at the form realities of everything. And then suddenly this sort of ceiling that was there begins to sort of separate a little bit. And we start to be able to sort of see up and around us. Our periphery begins to open up. We start to have experiences beyond 3D, beyond form reality, beyond the physical world, whether it's like a thought, a sensation, an inspiration. It could be like a gust of wind that sends a chill down your spine, but it's a warm wind, but you just feel there's an essence to that wind, to that air, whatever that was, and it's animating me in some way. I think the universe reverberates that internal experience by sending us things like repetitive number sequences, sending us synchronicities, having us have interesting dreams, waking up at different times. Our cycles begin to change. Lots of cycles begin to change. But I think that the sort of, expanding consciousness, what it's really all about, you can take all the language in the world to try to describe it, but becoming more awake, more conscious is beyond just being more aware, but awareness is a part of it. But at its most basic form, it's becoming more loving. And that doesn't mean emotionally loving, although it often will translate into emotional love, but it's about soul loving. It's about seeing all life as sacred, right? And honoring that in each of our moments of showing up in this world. But it's important too that we don't guilt ourselves into, oh my God, I had an ego reaction there. Well, sure you did. Okay. And let's just accept that part of ourselves, because it is part of our nature at this time. And I'm not going to, shove it under the carpet. I'm not going to say, oh, I got to get rid of this. But I notice that where something feels uncomfortable for me, this is always an indication that soul needs to grow there. We need an expansion of consciousness there where something is uncomfortable for me. So I am at this precipice of either needing to outgrow this current state, okay, or I stay where I am and I suffer through that. So this is really what's showing up for us as, are you coming into awakening? It can look any number of these ways and more, but these are some examples.
Just
love that.
Off the charts, Marianne, for sure. The only, I would add to that, it's a hyper awareness. So where you were referring to, you're consciously becoming aware of things like that ceiling opening, it's a hyper awareness that starts to happen. So if I look back over the ones that I can recall, my spiritual awakening, like the real beginning moments, it was all of the belief systems that I had were sort of flipped or exposed, right? So, you know, I can't even think of an example, but you know, teenagers having babies, okay? Because I was a teenager and I had some friends that had babies, and I was very critical. Like, why did you do that? What were you thinking? So I can remember that was probably one of my first ahas when, oh my goodness, like then I'm moving in and a close friend of mine ends up getting pregnant. And I'm like, well, she's not, you know, she just didn't happen because of whatever. We have all these judgment factors and belief systems that are ingrained. We may be carrying them from our past and cellular memory, from our ancestors, whatever. But the point being is that we have fixed beliefs, and I'm always super critical of myself when I have those fixed beliefs, because I'm like, oh, don't do that, Liz. Don't go there, because you know you're going to get a lesson. You know something's coming, and you know it's going to flip you. You're going to get flipped. And it's like, okay, so what am I not seeing here? So the moment I step into that fixed belief on anything, it doesn't matter what the topic is, I immediately go, okay, what am I not seeing? What am I not seeing? How am I being judgmental here? So it's like you said, how you become more loving and more hyper aware of, you know, you're not the only one here on the planet, and everyone has different levels of vibration, and it doesn't make them wrong or right. It just means that they're there, and they got to grow. And you're looking up at those people going, I need to catch up to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I clearly remember, you know, having all of those limiting beliefs very apparently like in my focus at the beginning, and thinking, wow, I've carried these with me for so many years. Just buy into it automatically, right? Which often happens in our early childhood, right? That's where most limiting beliefs are formed. And then, you know, learning over time that our limiting beliefs are what cause us, you know, all of this woundability, you know, where we believe something ought to be this way, or I ought to be this way. And then when someone, you know, doesn't live up to that, or I don't live up to it, then I have like this disharmony, and then I'm wounded by it. You know, like the beliefs create these fears, and the fears allow us to be really wounded by them. Do you know what I mean? And so it's this really stacked phenomena that happens psychologically, philosophically for us. It's a real interesting thing. And I love working with people. And this is what I do in soul-based coaching, either privately or in classes, is we really like deconstruct those wounds, fears, and beliefs in that order, and get down to this belief section, because it's really the foundation for all of the other material. It's really fascinating to help people discover that information. But, you know, from a soul-based perspective, you know, I've talked about this many times in my life here. I feel like I'm repeating the same thing, because I just did this in another interview recently. But, you know, when we, I find it really, really rewarding to help folks experience their world in a totally different way, when we can reframe or rewire a brain pathway that's been so automatic for so many years. You know, it's really incredible. And then the thing that's really amazing about soul-based coaching is that we don't stop at awareness, because the awareness is important, but awareness is just a mental reflex. You just know something about yourself, or you just know something about something. But knowing that thing, you're still separate from the thing that you know, or the other alternative that you could choose. You haven't become that thing. You haven't integrated it. So in soul-based coaching, the focus is on integration. It's about learning, some healing in that learning, and then integrating those new realities. And that's why things like wounds and fears and limiting beliefs can be so hard to bust up, because often folks don't do the integration part of it. You learn something about yourself, what some other realities might be, but then what it takes is a very powerful self-will to intentionally choose these other pathways, to show up in a different way, to acknowledge a response, and then choose an alternate that's more aligned with soul reality or universal reality. It's the integration part that often folks fall through with. We don't follow through with it. But you know what? Everybody's here for you know, meaning and purpose, and everyone's journey is going to look different. So, you know, if you're still dealing with limiting beliefs in a really destructive way in your life, you know, you'll get to it. You'll get to it.
Yeah, it's true. They will all come up one way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And, from in terms of like when I know I'm going through a spiritual awakening, this is a bit uncomfortable because every single aspect of my life will be challenged in one way, shape, or form or another. So it will be all of a sudden I'll be going along and, you've got that, they talk about this ebb and flow. Well, okay, everything's going along and then all of a sudden one thing happens and then you think, okay, that was challenging. We'll get through that. But then at the same time, or just right after, another issue. So it could be in terms of maybe relationships with friends or, finances, your house is breaking down, your car, you have to get a new car. All of these things all starting to happen at the same time. So I know that I'm personally experiencing a spiritual awakening when I can say at least 2 or more things are simultaneously occurring. Because in that moment, I'm thinking, okay, like everything was just going nice and smooth. It might have got a little boring for me because I like when things mix up, but this is not what I had in mind.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm the exact opposite up until this point, and these things can always change, right, guys? But I'm the exact opposite. It's like go, 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 whack.
Yeah.
On your knees, halted, right? It's like full stop. Life goes full stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And then in that moment, if you're not pausing to say, what am I supposed to be learning, thinking, being aware of, and asking yourself some important questions, you're going to continue into that either like brick wall or tumbling down that hill and, collecting more debris as you go. But in that moment when you're like, things are starting to become unraveled or unsteadied or unbalanced, you need to pause and say, what's happening? What can I do about it? What am I supposed to be learning? What's the common denominator? And where can I go to challenge? Because I was talking about this the other day, and when I'm starting to get into this feeling of an ascension or spiritual growth or whatever you want to call it, you're getting into that moment where what has been working is no longer working. So what I feel like has been going along okay and is in your comfort zone is now the universe basically saying, okay, well, you can't be comfortable there forever. What you believe or what you think or what you're doing is not going to work forever. And now I'm going to force you to grow. And because you missed all of these spots to kind of make that opportunity for change on your own, we're going to now help you see this. And now that's why all of these things are happening for you so that you can learn it. But at the same time, I feel like now, and you can get to this space too, and you guys can tell me if you're in this space, but I have resisted that change for so long that I try to like retreat and be like, just keep the peace, everybody, like trying to kind of smooth it over, which in turn is like avoidance. And that does not work because the universe will get you to do it in one way, shape, or form or another. So what I've noticed now is that I'm like, okay, I know you're coming for me. I know I have to do this. This is my challenge. So now I'm like, okay, where's my opportunity for growth? How can I see that this is my chance to change, evolve, do something better? And then I feel like I get a gold star. Like I seriously have to think about it this way. Like gold star, I'm done. And now guess what? I don't have 6 months worth of turmoil or sadness, fear, whatever. It's like, okay, maybe a couple hours or days or weeks, and then it's over. So I don't know. How do you guys handle that when you're in it and you're like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable?
I totally agree with you. Like in the beginning, the younger Liz would drag this shit on for decades. Now I'm like, I see it, I know it's coming, and I accept it. I accept the challenge. And I get very aware very quickly. I start to really ask what am I not seeing? What do I need to see? What can I do differently? Why am I? And I recognize things about myself. And one of the major things about myself is I like detail and I like the same. I like that pattern. I have patterns that I like to see evolve. And when I get stuck in a pattern or a certain narrow pathway, I'm missing all the peripheral. So that gets shaken up and I'm forced to pay attention. I'm stopped in my tracks. So now I'm like, okay, all right, I got you. I'm with you. I will pay attention and I can get through it quicker. Like it's getting out of that victim mode, because I used to hang out in the victim mode when those would hit me. And instead of being enlightened, I would hang out in this, I don't want change. I don't want to do this. I want to just stay exactly where I am and see it the way I see it. And I really resist it. So I don't do that anymore. Thank God.
Yeah, I'm the same. You know, it becomes an internal pursuit, right? We say, what do I need to know about this? What options do I have? What is being communicated to me from myself that I'm not hearing, right? It's the same. I think it's the same, Liz. It's an internal pursuit that we go after. And I think when you reach the learning, you know it. And it's a real soul knowing. Okay, it's not like a deductive process where you're like, is it this? You know, we might do that to discover it, but once we find it, we know we found it. And then we can work to shift or grow or to heal out of something there. But you know, the other reality at play is that sometimes there's lag time from when you discover the appropriate discovery, do some work on it, and then the physical reality sometimes takes time to respond to that, you know. And so I think that the universe leaves clues. And so when we're doing something that's right and appropriate for us, something might lighten up a bit, you know, but that doesn't mean we have an instantaneous shift, although we can. I also believe in things like miracles. So I think that it's the same thing. It's this internal pursuit. And I think that's key, actually, because oftentimes, you know, if we're stuck in a wounding pattern, then we'll look for an external pursuit, something to do, something to try, something to buy, something to what have you, right? And I think that the internal bit is important, but I also know that that's a navigation pathway that's difficult for a lot of folks if they're not used to it. And so sometimes we need assistance to make the inward journey, right? To make those discoveries. And we're all here to help each other, right? So, you know, and some of the times that I've needed assistance, I need assistance with things like my physical body. I need someone to help me understand nutrition. These types of things, they're not intuitive to me. They are in a very basic way, but you know, we're all here to assist each other, you know, and so let us be here for each other that way. So if you're experiencing, you know, things like that, and you feel like, man, I can't get a handle on this, then reach out to connect, because we're all here for each other. I just opened Facebook and I saw that this is going live. So guys, if you're watching this, can you give us a like or a love and just say hi, give us a hi, and maybe wherever you're tuning in from. And I don't know if any questions are coming on there. Amber, I don't know if you can see it. Can you?
I can see
it because I'm streaming, but Liz, can you?
Yeah, I can see. So I'll just kind of, oh, hang on. And my phone has frozen.
Well, while your phone is frozen, there is one question I did get asked just as we were logging in here today. And it's a quick one. Can I go my whole physical life without receiving a spiritual awakening?
Yeah, totally. I think someone totally could, because listen, you could have on the journey of a soul, which is filled with countless numbers of lives. You know, you could have just come off a very intensely spiritually connected or spiritually suffering experience, and you say, you know what, when I'm making my design for the next go around, I'm just staying apart from this stuff for this time. I just need a pause. But also, even if it weren't the case, understand that the purpose of the evolution of soul in multiple lives is to experience all there is to experience. So part of the human experience is to be spiritually unaware. And so from that space, you might be fulfilling part of your soul's destiny, part of your soul's evolutionary plan, that this is my go around to be totally oblivious to non-form reality in 5D and beyond. And so is that possible? For sure. Because in fact, no matter what the question was if it was, is this possible in the soul journey? Is this possible? The answer is always yes.
Yes, it's
always
always
black and white like this. Okay. So the answer is always yes, it's possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I was going to disagree with that, and I was going to
go
say,
ahead.
I know. But I get where you went with that. But in the beginning, I'm thinking, no, because I think you will always have, you will always evolve.
Yeah.
You know, like from childhood through to adulthood. But you're right. You must have part of the plan is to have us, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, you might evolve in a like human maturity space, maybe, but also within an entirely full 80-year life. One may not, depending on disease that they might have come in with, or cognitive disability, like right. So any of that, and then so if that's the case, I would say if we're questioning it, maybe you do have something coming. And I'd say if you're not questioning it, then maybe not.
About it. Right? Don't worry about it if you're not questioning it. It's all good for you. Okay, there is one here. Sometimes it's the unknown fear that stops us. And that's, from Tammy Urenko. And she's saying, I think that was connected to when we were talking about taking the deep dive in, taking that shift or that, and we were talking about, but my phone is completely frozen, so I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, if you have posted anything there. But I am recognizing the time here, you guys, and unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap it up soon within the next 5 minutes because I do have other commitments. But oh, here we go. Things are happening now. Okay, I've actually got some.
I was just going to say, I just see Ellie saying, very true, Marianne. Been with my husband since I was 16 years old. There are many changes and challenges, struggles when you've been with someone for that long, but in the end, we still figure things out. We just can't seem to leave and let go of a 20-year friendship, life, and marriage. And then she said, hello and good afternoon. So no question, she just wanted to mention that she was in agreement with what Marianne was saying about the relationships and love and starting out.
Yeah, and I feel really, it's quite something. I mean, I think of my family, my friends. I think I'm the only person that's been in a wonderful relationship. Of course, it's not always wonderful, but for this long, it's like I was a kid, I was a teenager, and the success rates are so low. And then every year we have an anniversary, we're like, hello again. We've known each other. We've been with each other. Okay, we've been with each other over half of our lives.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So we've been with each other longer than we haven't been with each other.
Right.
Weird, hey?
That's wild. Well, good for you. Congratulations, because no, really, because it is not easy. And it takes work. And that's one of the things that I say in my work every day when I'm speaking to people. You're not in a relationship to live happily ever after. That thing that we grew up thinking like, oh, you're going to find your mate, you're going to be in love and ta-da, run into the sunset. You're in a relationship because you're here to learn and grow and compromise and unconditional love and all of the things that come along every single moment. All of us are in that doing it. So definitely congratulations to everybody who's out there doing relationships, because give yourself a pat on the back because you did make it through another hour or a week or a day or a year, but yes. Okay. Marianne, please tell us before we have to unfortunately leave our beautiful fun. Tell us about how our viewers can find your school.
Sure. So you can visit mariannekennedy.ca. My school is the School of Mediumship and Spiritual Studies. So there's lots of classes and programs and not one-on-one groups with me over Zoom these days because we can't be in person. There's also online programs where you work at home at your own pace, and then you send your work in to be marked by me. So you can find all of that at mariannekennedy.ca, and on Facebook, Spiritual Medium Marianne Kennedy. I'm on Instagram, but not really, so don't bother there.
Sounds like me.
I feel that. You know what, too? Guess what, Marianne? I just ordered your book, and so it is coming from Amazon.
Okay.
So I am so excited to get that because I've been waiting for so long to order it, and finally I was just like, I am buying this for Christmas 4 months ago. So that's what my treat is.
Awesome. Well, you should have just told me. I would have mailed you a copy. But I'm sure my publisher is happy you bought it off of Amazon. So
yes, I'm sure they are. Yeah.
Do you have one of your books there, Marianne, to show everybody?
I do actually. Yeah. It's right here. Whoops. Oh, it might be backwards.
How to become a medium. No, it's showing up perfect.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's How to Become a Medium. It's a step-by-step guide to connecting with the other side. This particular book was in my truck in the back seat for a couple of years, and I thought, this is the one I'll keep as my copy. So this is what I have here. Yeah, you can get that on Amazon or Chapters, Barnes and Noble, all that stuff online.
Perfect.
I love it. Well, you know what? I definitely will get you to sign it the next time we're together. And then that way, yeah, because I just love, one, I'm all about supporting each other.
Yeah.
Two, I just love any information that there is on mindfulness, you know, intuition, mediumship, psychic stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a good resource because when I'm teaching for my own Clarity Academy or soul coaching, I refer books all the time or refer other professionals in the industry, because there is not just one person or one book or one piece of information that people should be just running with. Like, you should always be open to collaborating, sharing. You know, there's so much wisdom out there. So I'm excited. I can't wait till it shows. It says it's coming on Sunday.
Okay, perfect. Well, for all of
I'll
you,
order it too.
for all of you authors out there, you'll know what it's like that I wrote this book like 6 years ago. So I don't even remember what's in so much of it. Right? And then you think, you know, and this is the thing with writing a book, is that if I rewrote it today, I would have written a lot of additional things. Maybe I wouldn't have written one particular, you know, so it's like you change over time, but it's forever written in history, and c'est la vie, that's the way it is.
Yes, but you know what, Marianne, all that means is you need to write another book.
I know.
That's all that means.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you for coming, and we will also include all of your contact information into the links below for those of you who might have missed that. And of course, Marianne will be around again. We will be doing something at some point, and maybe next year, our Mediumship Summit, the Canadian Mediumship Summit. So if you missed it this past October, then next year, you keep an eye out on it if you want to learn more about that as well.
Great.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Love you, Marianne. Love you, Amber.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.